They said a man can never walk into the same village twice, once as himself and once as his ghost. But that was before Abeni saw her husband twice in 1 week. The first time, he came home smiling. The second time, he came home bleeding. And that was when Ntoloma Village realized not every return is a blessing. The evening sun burned orange over the hills of Ntoloma. The wind carried the smell of roasted yam and wet soil. Women sang as they carried water pots home from the stream, and among them was Abeni, quiet, graceful, and lost in thought. It had been 5 years since her husband Kofi left to work in the coastal towns. He promised to send word. He never did. Each night, she sat outside her hut, watching the stars, praying for his shadow to appear again at their gate. Then, one golden evening, the dogs barked. Abeni turned. There he was, Kofi. Same scar on his jaw, same tired smile, same soft voice saying, "Abeni, I told you I would return." She ran into his arms, crying as the whole village gathered. That night, the drums of Ntoloma roared louder than they had in years. Even Chief Odan came out to greet the man who had returned from the dead. But as the moon rose higher, Kofi sat by the fire, silent, his eyes distant. And though he smiled, his hand trembled when he touched Abeni's face. 3 nights later, rain fell hard. The thunder rolled over Ntoloma like drums of war. Abeni sat inside, listening to Kofi's breathing beside her. Then came a knock. Slow, heavy, familiar. Kofi sat up. Abeni frowned. Who's knocking in this storm? She opened the door and dropped the lantern. There, drenched in rain, stood another Kofi. Same height, same eyes, same scar. "Who are you?" she whispered. The man stepped closer. "It's me, Abeni, your husband. I'm home." Behind her, the first Kofi stood. His jaw tightened. Their eyes met. Two men, one face, one truth that no one could explain. At sunrise, the entire village gathered. Chief Odan sat beneath the big Iroko tree, staff in hand. Both men stood before him. Each told the same story, how they worked at the coast, how they were shipwrecked, how they wandered the forests before finding the way home. Every word matched. Every detail aligned. It was impossible. Elder Jumo, the spiritual advisor, stepped forward. "This is not a matter of flesh," he said. "This is the work of something that should never have been touched." He told them of the mirror of the hills, a sacred object buried deep in the forest, rumored to reflect not your face, but your soul. Kofi trembled, the second Kofi, silent, unmoved. And from that day, the nights in Abeni's house were never the same. Days passed. The first Kofi began to fall sick. Nightmares, cold sweats, whispers at night. The second Kofi became more confident, walking the village, helping people, gaining their trust. One night, Abeni woke up to see the stranger standing in the yard, staring into the dark. She called his name, But he didn't answer. He just said softly, "The dead never sleep, Abeni. They only wait." That night, the chickens screamed. The next morning, one of the elders was found lifeless near the forest's edge. As the village panicked, Chief Odin confessed that years ago, he too had seen a man return from death after touching the mirror of the hills. The mirror, he said, grants life to the lost, but at a price. It creates a double, a shadow self born without a soul. Abeni realized one of the men was alive, the other was not. But which one? Abeni's daughter, Nia, began to speak strange things at night, whispering secrets no one had told her. She said, "Mama, the man in the hut isn't Papa. He smells like the earth, not the sea." That morning, Abeni noticed the second Kofi's shadow didn't fall the same way. When he walked toward the sun, his shadow bent away from the light. That was when Abeni knew. Abeni confronted both men in front of the whole village. She demanded that they walk toward the sacred mirror hidden in the forest. The stranger refused. Kofi agreed. They went, villagers following behind. The air was thick, the trees silent. As Kofi touched the mirror, the stranger screamed, and his reflection shattered into smoke. The ground trembled, the mirror cracked, and from its surface rose a voice. When love hides the truth, death comes in disguise. When the smoke cleared, only one man remained. The real Kofi. He fell to his knees, crying, holding Abeni's hand. The villagers destroyed what was left of the mirror, but weeks later, Abeni found a small piece of it buried under the ashes. And when she looked into it, years later, when Abeni told the story to her daughter, she said, "Truth is like the sun, Nia. You can hide it behind clouds, but it always finds its way back." Because in Ntoloma, they learned, what you bury in silence will always return, and what you love blindly can destroy you quietly. For a second, the reflection blinked back.